For a moment, I felt surprised that the river was still flowing.
Where's the grasshopper? I see the bird.
Here.
Let's just do this. Okay, starting from Noche, which is fast.
There was gonna be 15 chicks, but we turned off the incubator.
We're a developmental school, which means that we pay a great deal of attention to the research that's been done over the last 100+ years into the development of children from infancy through adolescence. We recognize that children develop at different paces, that the individual child has an unevenness to his or her development, so that a child might be developing more rapidly physically in relation to peers and a little bit more slowly socially in relation to peers, or a child might be developing more rapidly in terms of language acquisition and language skills and a little bit more slowly in the quantitative areas. They're all going to go through those same developmental stages, but they're going to go through them at their own individual pace. It is really key to be able to address those different levels within the classroom.
We have twins, and especially being identical twin boys, they have some unique needs and some unique bonds, but yet they're still individuals. They're their own being, and we like that idea that the approach would be to teach them at their ability, to teach them in a manner that works for them. The early ages, academically, maybe they weren't reading at a level that even my nephew was the same age, but eventually they got there, and they got there on their own time when they were ready. They didn't feel pressured, they didn't feel pushed.
Traditional education says, okay, the way to do this is sort of, find the average and have everybody work for that average, or decide that you're going to set it to above average and try to make everybody work at this thing that's been defined as above average. But in fact, human beings don't work that way.
We lost it. SPDF.
We want our children to be very, very actively engaged in the learning process. So we're always trying to teach directly from experiences children are already having in their lives. Start with things they know and are interested in and love and feel expert in, and take the little bit of knowledge they have in that area and help them see that there's actually a whole lot more in that area that they can learn, so expand out from that. Or to create experiences within the classroom that introduce children to new ideas, to new experiences, to new ways of thinking that can further the learning process for them. So our children are discussing, they're building, they're experimenting, they're debating. Everything that they're doing, as much as possible, we want to be very, very active.
Came from the people who brought.
When we're getting to hear a lot of different people interact with us and discuss with us what we think we're figuring out.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
We remember all of those things better, so not only do we learn it at a deeper level to begin with, but then we also retain it far better.
You just need an E at the end.
Children learn a lot more when they're actively involved. We simply learn more when we're getting to talk about what we're learning.
But he's not. No, that's not an Indian. No,
When we're getting to use our hands to learn it.
13 and 23.
13 minus 23.
-10.
-10 is correct. Is that a product, sum, quotient, or difference?
Different.
If it's just drilling,
What would you like to do with that difference?
doing the problem after problem after problem, it's not going to connect them as much. But once they feel a connection, then they want the skill.
There you go. That's about a yard. Okay, you were close, but I want everybody just line up and I'll give you a yard on your hands so you get the feel of it.
We integrate across the disciplines. So at the elementary level, that looks like teachers selecting a social studies theme for the year, and then finding ways that theme can also be looked at in science, in math, in art.
What? Incredulity and distaste battled each other on Nisha's face. What's incredulity, do you think? It's not just a cookie cutter sort of curriculum where now we're all going to write this, and now we're all going to make a flower and it's going to be yellow.
Ganesh is basically Shiva's son.
He has the elephant head because when he was a kid, Shiva got mad at him and chopped off his head. And then the wife got mad at him, so she made him put on an elephant head instead.
Make no mistake, my classroom is highly academic. The kids are learning mounds of material every single day, but I'm not even sure they realize how much they're learning.
Doing the snake right now, and that's 2 arms. I know, I got it. And I did 4 arms.
Another thing that I think is really key is not giving kids letter grades, because letter grades make it so easy for kids to rank themselves in relationship to each other. And if you're in a school with letter grades, everybody knows that an A is a better grade than a B, and a B is a better grade than a C. And so kids very quickly turn that into an A student is a better, not just student, but a better person than a B student than a C student.
What sound does EA make? And CH? That's right.
Our teachers spend a lot of time initially doing assessment, and that's of all different sorts. Just watching children as they're doing their daily tasks in class, sitting down one-on-one and asking a child to do a very specific task.
Read what that says.
Curious.
Yeah, see how it's different than the one you wrote above it?
So once the teachers know that, they can then begin to make instructional decisions.
Brandon, fact finder. Adam, reader. Spencer, who's not here, is the character summary. Sophie, wordsmith. You're reading chapter 14. That's it.
Now at middle and high school, integration is a little bit more challenging because it's important for students to begin to have their academic classes from specialists rather than generalists. So at the middle school level and at the high school level, we plan our curriculum in an integrated fashion.
1, 2, 3.
So even if you have 2 teachers teaching, one English, one history, there's going to be integration between them.
Okay, where is he now in this chapter?
And right now we're reading Julius Caesar, and then in history we're going to be studying in Rome. So they do relate, and it's cool because you can make connections between the classes. Say, oh, I know that. We're learning that in the other class.
The kind of big difference I see kind of between that more traditional school I taught at before and this one is that one was had a much more competitive culture. And I think the competitive culture, while it may kind of goad kids on, I don't think it really makes them better learners.
Once they get to high school, they do get letter grades. At the end of the academic year, teachers assign grades to students for their work over the course of the year in each of the classes. But they don't give students letter grades or percentages on any of the individual pieces of work that the students do over the course of the year. So they're always getting back information about their work as opposed to a rating on their work. And they get that back in written form on the work itself. They get it back in comments from their teacher when it's time to write comments at the end of the terms.
The Frankenstein essay was really hard for me.
Was it? Okay. I think probably what happened is that you had this ambitious argument you wanted to make, and then you kind of fell out of love with it. And then you tried to repair it, and I think in the repairing it, you sort of defanged it a little bit too much. So
we set aside specific time in the school day for teachers to be able to sit down with students one-on-one and conference with them about how they're doing in their classes.
On the assessments and on the tests and the quizzes. So that's one area I think you just need to focus a little bit more. And I see that, from the first few days where I thought, oh, this girl's never going to say a word. And look at me now.
They really, like I said, they judge you against yourself. And I think that, you get a much better read on, how well you're doing as a student that way.
Jamón. Jamón, posiblemente con jamón.
I've always had problems with math, but I think especially in another situation I would have just kind of felt like, wow, I'm really bad at math, and it would have been left at that. It wasn't like something's wrong with you, you're failing. It was more like that, okay, you learn differently, so we're going to accommodate it.
Students and teachers don't talk about grades, they talk about learning.
It provides some more information about that structure.
And that's what the conversation should be about.
Academically it's still rigorous, definitely. And I hate it when people think oh, you go to Waverly, you have it easy. No, I don't.
Selenium, bromine, krypton. Got the idea?
Yep.
I hope this helped.
They've got this transcript that looks like a conventional transcript, and then on top of it, Another benefit is they have all these narrative comments from all their teachers, and our college counselor can write these really rich recommendations. And our kids have a lot of choices. They have a lot of choices that match their interests and needs, and they're really good at selecting the schools that are right for them.
I'm hoping to go pre-med and combine that with a major in anthropology and possibly a minor in writing. I'm not sure how that'll work out, but Waverly has definitely made me really just want to reach for all of that.
Welcome to the Waverly School graduation.
Our students will be a member of a small Waverly sister and brotherhood who've been working on knowing themselves and on accepting the complexity of the world and of others.
Robbie remained positive, intelligent, asking the question that needed to be asked, refusing to accept easy answers.
Like Alice, Claudia takes you down the rabbit hole into her own wonderland of ideas, words, and emotions. I know she will run through Sarah Lawrence and on to the next adventure.
The first day I came, what struck me the most was that everybody was saying, I came in shadowed, and everybody was saying, oh, I just love Waverly. And it wasn't because I was there and they were trying to impress me or anything, it was like they actually legitimately loved the school.
It's just something about Waverly and the teachers here and the students here that just makes it really special and something that I'll never forget. I mean, that's like the most important 4 years of my life.